The New Testament records 11 post-resurrection appearances by Jesus. And today, we want to talk about one. I'm Eric. I'm one of the pastors here at SMCC, and welcome to Easter. And the way the New Testament records these appearances is so fascinating. It puts us into the story. It puts us into history as bystanders. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John give us a front row seat to the action of the crucifixion and the action of the resurrection. See, we are all bystanders. It was Easter Sunday, and on that day, two men took a 7-mile stretch of road out of Jerusalem. One of them was named Cleopas, and he would later tell his story to the gospel writers. See, it had been 3 days since Jesus took his last breath on a cross, and now it was Sunday, and people had traveled to the tomb, but not these two. They had to get out of town. So they took the 7-mile stretch of hot gravel road to the town of Emmaus. And as they walked, they talked. They talked about this event like we would talk about any historic and tragic event. They couldn't understand how it happened or why it happened. They were likely scared, frustrated, sad, discouraged, and full of doubt. Now, let me clear something up when it comes to doubt. Doubt isn't all bad, and it isn't all good either. And depending on how you were raised, maybe you grew up with doubt as a 5-letter word being treated like a 4-letter word. And you were told to stuff it. You were told to doubt everything, including your doubts. You were told to set your doubts on the shelf. But here's the thing, doubt is simply your mind trying to reconcile new information with old information. And so there is a type of doubt that follows answers, a type of doubt that doesn't. There is a type of doubt willing to ask questions, a type of doubt that doesn't want to ask questions. And so for just a moment, I want to talk about those two types of doubts. So here's the thing. There's a type of doubt that refuses resolution. This type of doubt is the sign of a closed mind. This type of person doesn't want to be convinced. They don't want to ask tough questions because those tough questions will demand something of them. This type of person does not want to take a step of commitment. This is the type of doubt that refuses resolution. But there's another type of doubt, and this type of doubt embraces resolution. And this type of doubt is the sign of an open mind. This type of person is willing to be convinced. They want to follow the facts wherever they lead. Ultimately, this type of doubt is looking for answers so that doubts can be resolved. So let me ask you a question. Which type of doubt do you have? And I think deep down, you already know. Back to the gravel road that leads to Emmaus. At this point in the story, we're not sure what type of doubt these two men had. See, they had heard the reports of the resurrection. They had heard from the women. They had heard from the angels. They had heard from their friends that the tomb was empty, but they weren't buying it. So as they walk along this gravel dirt road, they're having this conversation. And in fact, I think it's a conversation we've all had many times. And the conversation was basically this: when is enough evidence enough? When do we have enough facts to come to a conclusion? When do we have enough answers to tough questions to follow the evidence wherever it leads? And what if we have enough evidence, but we just don't know it? So these two men, they had heard the reports. They had heard the reports from the apostles, the women, the angels, and they rejected all of it because in their mind, the evidence just wasn't enough yet. So let's talk for a minute about when you have enough evidence to know the truth or come to a conclusion. In our courtrooms today, the standard for conviction is not beyond a possible doubt, it's simply beyond a reasonable doubt. And here's why. We don't know anything beyond a possible doubt. I mean, come on, all things are possible. It's possible that I'm a figment of your imagination, that I don't really exist, that I'm simply a CGI character. But that is not reasonable. And so the standard for conviction in our courtrooms today is not beyond a possible doubt. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. What's the most logical and reasonable conclusion of all the evidence, all the facts that we know? So anything is possible, but not anything is reasonable. Additionally, in our courtrooms today, a jury can make a decision, they can come to a conclusion, they can convict, even if the case has unanswered questions. Every case has unanswered questions, but people can come to a conclusion based upon the answers they do currently have. Every case has unanswered questions, but that does not keep a case from moving to its logical conclusion. See, many of us probably have some doubt when it comes to Easter. But if that type of doubt is the type of doubt that wants to embrace a resolution, you can come to a decision about the empty tomb. You can come to a decision, even if it's possible that something else happened, and even if you have unanswered questions, because the most likely, reasonable, and logical conclusion is that Jesus really was raised from the dead. And if in our courtrooms today, that standard for conviction is big enough, beyond a reasonable doubt, and if in our courtrooms today you can come to a decision, a conclusion with unanswered questions, then for all of us today, we can come to a conclusion about the empty tomb. And the most logical, probable, and reasonable conclusion is that it really was empty. See, we really do have enough evidence. Let me read to you how one author put it. What would transform a group of shivering, shaking, terrified men who had abandoned Jesus, one even denying he knew him, scattered, hiding from the authorities, doors locked, lights out? What could account for their transformation into bold advocates for the resurrection, standing up to authorities who threatened to scourge, imprison, and execute them for declaring a risen Christ? What would change Saul of Tarsus, a man so dedicated to his religion, he rounded up men and women to be bullied, beaten, and killed for following Jesus? What would cause such a man to turn on a dime and take his place with those he oppressed, eventually sacrificing his own life for the very gospel he previously despised? What best explains that? Only one answer will do, and it is the answer given by the one who had earlier renounced Christ with an oath. In Peter's words, this Jesus God raised up again, to which we are all witnesses. So today, maybe you need just a bit more evidence, and that's fine. Today, I'm not asking you to shift your worldview entirely, but I am inviting you to consider shifting your doubt from a doubt that refuses resolution to the type of doubt willing to embrace resolution. Shifting from a type of doubt that doesn't want answers to the type of doubt hungry for answers, the type of doubt desperate for resolution. And you might just discover as you shift your doubt, like so many have discovered, that transformation quickly follows. So today it's my hope that you can intellectually engage and intellectually enjoy Easter.